The NASCAR playoffs are currently about 8 months away, which means, of course, for me, it is the perfect time to make a way too early 2024 NASCAR playoff prediction video. And with this, I'm just gonna be straight up and tell you who are the 16 drivers I think will make the postseason this year and why, as well as maybe a couple who I think will be just close or could replace any of them if something were to happen. Starting out, I'm going to give you the 10 guys that I think are locks to make it. These guys either perennially make the playoffs every year, or they had a breakout year in 2023 that everyone could kind of see the progression coming, or they would make it into the playoffs, and the only reason that they wouldn't were some kind of occurrence that would keep them out of their control or out of the norm, like getting hurt or maybe having something happen to them that made them miss races, whatever it might be. And these guys are Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, and William Byron. These guys, to me, are the ones that should be the favorites not only to make the playoffs every year, but win the championship and you make the Final Four and the whole lot. I think these guys are probably the easiest picks, and I would be questioning anyone who didn't have these 10 in. Now we got those 10 out of the way, let's look at the 4 drivers that I think are solid contenders. The ones that we all think should make it, but maybe for one reason or another cannot be complete locks. Starting with Martin Truex Jr. Listen, last year, I'm pretty sure I didn't have him making the playoffs, and it was because he was slowly but surely regressing, and through the first 7 or 8 races, I was proven right. But through the middle of the season, up until about the playoffs, Truex was his old self. He was winning races, leading laps, and running up front. But the thing for me that keeps him out of being a lock is his absolute collapse in the playoffs. If you look at the entirety of 2023 for Martin Truex Jr., it was an inconsistent mess. Moments of greatness and brilliance mixed with complete and utter just disgusting performance. He had bad luck too. I get that, it happens to everybody, but there were times that the 19 team last year was out to lunch. And with him getting older, turning 44 this year, it's honestly something I think we all can question in realistic terms. Will Truex make the playoffs, especially if we do have some upset winners early on in the year or throughout the season? It's a valid question to have. Another that is kind of in the same vein as Martin Truex Jr. for me is Brad Keselowski. Keselowski last year looked really good. He was consistent, and overall, RFK looks to be back. These guys now with Buescher were running races, but that's where I have a bit of an issue with Keselowski. Yes, he is a top 10 driver again, but he needs to win. And not just a super speedway win either. Yeah, I get it. He can qualify just as much off a win at Daytona as he can off a win, say, at Sonoma. But it needs to be something to prove that Keselowski and that team are taking even further steps forward. But I do think he's somebody who is talented enough to carry equipment, even if it wasn't fully there. Another one that I have a bit of question about, but I think will be pretty solid to make it as well, is Tyler Reddick. Reddick had an up and down 2023. Yeah, there were wins, there was speed, there was a lot of good with it, but there were times that the 45 team was just MIA. And again, while consistency does not matter as much in this system to win championships, it does help in a lot of ways throughout the regular season with stage points, playoff points, the whole 9 yards. And in the playoffs, it will help in the round of 12 and especially round of 8 to be able to take that next step and not just be an also-ran in that round, but be a realistic contender to make the Final Four and win the championship. And the last one in this category for me is Ty Gibbs. Now, many people probably will not like having Ty Gibbs be a lock in many eyes to make the playoffs, but the thing is, he is an incredible talent. There can be no denial. I don't care what you say about his ride or whatever. He is a great driver, one of the best prospects that NASCAR has seen in years. I can't remember somebody who came into the Cup Series with so much hate already built in towards him, but also so much raw talent on full display. Did he run how Kyle Busch did with that team the year before? No. but I don't expect somebody to run like a top 10 driver of all time in their rookie season. What he did, though, was really, I would say, showed vast improvement mentally as a driver, which has been the weak point of Ty Gibbs' career up to this point. There were a lot of times he could have gotten into altercations and didn't, and the ones he did get in, he was generally probably the innocent one in it. And I think that if Ty continues to do this and continues to become a better driver, you're going to see more runs like the Bristol night race, where he's leading a lot of laps and a true threat to win the race. Yeah, he probably was a threat to win maybe 1 or 2 races last year, but I think this year he will be consistently a top 5 and top 10 guy. With 14 drivers now listed, I have 2 more spaces left, and these for me are the stragglers. The 2 guys who I think have the speed and the capability to run further up front than the 15th and 16th seeds in the playoffs at the moment, but at the same time can also have boneheaded mistakes or just completely fall flat on their face. And the first one of these is Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace has continued year over year to improve how he performs, how he races, and mentally how strong he is as a driver. And I think that this 23 team has shown the ability to not only win a race, but I think win multiple races a year. And for that reason, I do have him on the list on the good side. The thing is, he's needing to really correct a lot of the mistakes that he and that team overall make. There are just times where Bubba Wallace will do dumb decisions, and it ultimately costs him way more than he would have gained otherwise. But there's other times where he is running up front, and with him being one of the best super speedway drivers out there, that will never hurt. He is always a threat to win at Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta. And I think that this might be the first year that he has been at 23XI where he and this team realistically could get on the fringes of being a top 10 team throughout the season. And now with the last pick, I think someone who fits this category with Bubba perfectly is Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman, in my opinion, is the biggest mystery driver heading into 2024. He may come back and be just as good as his teammates, running top 5 and top 10 and winning multiple races like he did in 2021. Or he might run how he did for the majority of the year after he came back from his injury, where he just sort of was there. Because of the injury, it's going to be a mystery until probably about the 3rd mark of the season, but I would say that he'll recover in some ways. I think that he is a good enough driver on his own to make the playoffs with capable cars, and Hendrick is more than capable. So those are the 16 guys that I have making the playoffs this year. If your driver was not one of those 16 I listed, I don't think he's making the playoffs this year. But I will give you at least a bit of an honorable mention or just missing category of guys that I think could vault themselves up. And yeah, I get anyone could make it, but these 4 have caught my eye, and maybe it's my own bias with it as well. Starting off, I have Austin Dillon. I know a lot of people will roll their eyes at this, but Austin Dillon, more often than not, makes the playoffs off of points. He's a better driver than many people give him credit for, and I think that this can be a bounce-back year for him. Also, Michael McDowell is somebody that I think with front row can continue to improve this year. The years are numbered now for McDowell. He's not getting any younger, but he is the franchise guy for this team. And while I can't count on him to win, I do think he'll be in the points mix. Eric Jones is the one that I see with the most upside. I need to see a visible change with legacy before I can pick him or his teammate to make the playoffs, but the upside is there with Toyota, and I think that he is probably the most likely, if everything works out, to make it of the ones I don't think will. And then there's Daniel Suarez, who I think is the most interesting watch of those who missed the playoffs last year and who I'm picking to miss as well. Suarez, in my opinion, is in a do-or-die season. He did not perform last year. He actually regressed, and he needs to prove that he belongs at Trackhouse when they can get pretty much any driver they want at this point. Suarez has the ability to run up front just like any other pretty good Cup driver, but he hasn't been showing that. If he doesn't perform this year, it might be the last year we see him in the 99. All right, those are all my picks, analysis, all that good stuff. Now it is your turn. Let me know down in the comments below who your 16 picks are to make the NASCAR playoffs in 2024. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support, and until next time, have a good one.